My son, Jack, has recently begun studying for the GED. Now, this has not been easy for him. School was not easy, so he had a lot of beliefs about himself and academics, but he's actually been doing pretty well. I got him this giant book from Kaplan, and he's been going through and taking mock tests and studying and answering problems. And the test is divided into four parts. There's math, and social studies, and science, and then, of course, English, which is mostly writing. And of course, the thing he's having the most problem with is writing. And there's a couple of reasons for that. First is, well, they want him to usually the writing assignments, these critical essays, as you take two passages and you compare them and make an argument about which passage is right. They're usually two opposing ideas on the same thing. The challenge with this is that he's aware that there's a kind of right answer, sort of, kind of, and this is a very hard way to write. As you all know, there is no real right answer to writing. There is just what you think is the most interesting story to tell. But uh, but for this, there seems to be a right answer, and he sits there trying to come up with the right answer, and he doesn't know what it is. And so I've been advising him just do your best and write what you think is the best answer that you think is the best answer. Not easy to do. So that's the first reason, the sort of game that goes on in his head, which reminds me a lot of what writers go through when they're trying to write something entertaining or that they believe is acceptable. They're essentially looking for a right answer that someone else will judge. It's a little more abstract than in the test where you feel like there literally is a right answer. But the other reason is, and it's related to the first, and as he expressed it to me, he doesn't want the pain. In other words, he's aware that sitting down and trying to write these and trying to guess what the right answer is and trying to form the best essay that will be acceptable to whoever judges these things is emotionally painful. He feels like a failure. He feels like he can't do it. And he doesn't want pain. None of us do. In fact, I would say human beings are pain avoiders. I think that's a lot of what our life is about, although we probably don't frame it that way, but nobody actually wants to be in pain. And there is the awareness when we write that when it isn't going well, it feels painful in an emotional sense. But I think there's a reason for that. Writing is all about seeking the effortless path. In other words, the right way forward. There's no resistance, and you're not having to force anything. You're not having to get anything right because the right answer is within you. And so, as we go forward and we're writing, we're always going to meet resistance as we try to maybe force our characters to do things that they don't want to do or try to make the story turn out a way we don't want it to turn out. And that trying to force the direction of the story in one way is always going to be met with resistance, and that will be uncomfortable. And the more we force it, the more it might even become painful. And then we start, and then if we keep trying to force it, there's a feeling of I can't do it and I'm not good enough. And now we're dealing with failure. Oh, and that is painful emotionally. Thinking you're a failure, thinking you're no good. That is about as, like Goethe said, the worst thing a person can do is think ill of themselves. And that's what you're doing, thinking ill of yourselves. I can't do it. I'm not good enough. And all because you're meeting resistance and still forcing ahead. So I think it's worth remembering that the point of writing, you will meet resistance because you have to find the way forward. But the goal is the effortless way forward. And if it's effortless, there's no resistance, there's no pain. The pain is simply a consequence of us trying to make the story something it isn't, trying to make ourselves something it isn't. We aren't, like wearing a pair of shoes that don't fit. Our job is to write the story that fits us. And when we do, there is no pain, there is no discomfort because we are simply allowing ourselves, allowing the story to be what it is, allowing ourselves to be what we are. And that will never hurt, I guarantee. Yeah. Thanks for tuning in. As always, if you like it, hit subscribe so you don't miss a dose. And if you like it, say so. It's great to hear from you. So until next week, this is Bill Kenower. Stay fearless.